Hey guys, Greg D here back with another video, and today's video is going to be something a little bit different just because I like to branch out a little bit from time to time and come up with some new videos just from taking from different aspects of my life just to give you a little more of who I am, what I like, what I'm all about. So this video, I'm actually going to be doing a WrestleMania 31 review. Now, this is the first WWE pay-per-view that I've seen in, God, years. For most of you that are probably like me, this has probably been something that you've, whether you got into it when you were a teenager or you started watching it when you were a little kid, it's kind of always been something that even, as you've grown older and maybe have drifted away from as far as watching, you always kind of come back at different points just to see what's going on. And that's kind of where I'm at. When I was a kid, I used to love wrestling. I used to watch it all the time. I grew up, with WCW and WWF in the late 80s, early 90s. When I was like in middle school, high school, that's when the Attitude Era was running wild. So that's when I really got into it. You had all those big personalities with Stone Cold and The Rock and Triple H and Sting and Hogan and Flair and all those guys. But WrestleMania 31, overall, I thought the show was pretty good. In some aspects, it felt like it just felt like watching Monday Night Raw. There wasn't anything like really special about it, but then there was other moments that were just like, holy crap, wow. So the match going into this, the match that I was actually looking most forward to was actually the Intercontinental title, the ladder match, the title match. I kind of expected going into it that either Daniel Bryan or Dolph Ziggler would win, and sure enough, Daniel Bryan ended up winning. I think that was kind of, WWE's way of not putting him in the spotlight for the heavyweight title, but pushing him in their own way just because they know that the fans are, he's really over with the fans. So I kind of expect that. Personally, I was looking forward to seeing someone like Dean Ambrose win. I like the character of Dean Ambrose. I thought that might have helped the character develop a little bit. You also have to remember, too, that there was the Andre the Giant Battle Royal that they did in the kickoff show, and they also did the Fatal 4-Way tag match for the tag team titles, in which Tyson Kidd and Cesaro retained the titles. I didn't actually watch those because I really wasn't that interested in them personally. So Big Show won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which kind of made sense to me as well. Other matches. We had Sting versus Triple H. This was actually a really, really good match. Probably one of the better ones of the entire show. In the beginning, because they were kind of promoting Terminator with Arnold being, part of the Hall of Fame. Triple H coming out, as the Terminator with all the other Terminators. That was kind of, I'm sure they meant it to make him look like a badass, but not really. It looked really, really corny and stupid to me, quite personally. Sting looked great. Looked to be in really good shape. Moved around the ring really well for being 55 years old. That, as the fans chanted, he's definitely still got it. Hell of a match. The whole DX versus NWO thing kind of threw me for a loop. Just because, once again, they were trying to do the whole WWF versus WCW thing. At one point, though, I did think that just to really, get Triple H more over as a heel, I thought that they were going to have NWO, who they brought out as the Outsiders and Hogan. I thought they were going to have them, attack Sting and then join up with Triple H so that Triple H had his whole entire clique, against Sting. Didn't happen that way, but it was kind of cool to see, all of the old guys just because, whatever. Let's see, what else was there? There was the Divas match, which was AJ and Paige versus the Bella Twins. Honestly, Divas matches to me were never very exciting, but however, I do like the fact that they gave them some time. You know, as of late, I've just felt like the Divas division has been sort of the redheaded stepchild of WWE. It's like they pretty much go out there, they have a 2-minute match, and then it's over, and then it's done. I mean, it's not like how it was, 10, 15, even 20 years ago, when they had people like Trish Stratus or Lita or Mickey James or any of these people. Like when the Divas division actually meant something, the title actually meant something. Now it's just kind of like they use the Divas as a time filler. They're out there for 5 minutes and then they get back. So it was kind of nice to actually see them have a lengthy match. Maybe it was 10 minutes, but it was nice to see them that they actually gave them more time to showcase what they can do. They have that show Total Divas on the E Network, and if there are viewers out there that like that show and kind of tune into WWE programming, and you kind of end up having the chance to lose viewers there by not giving the Divas enough time, like on the actual show. So to actually see them have, a decent amount of time on the actual, show and have a lengthy match was actually kind of nice. Let me think. What else was there? There was John Cena versus Rusev, the United States title match. Definitely thought that Cena was going to win coming out, because I know that they've recently been wanting to add some prestige, some oomph to their lower singles titles, Intercontinental title included. And I also think that is another reason why Daniel Bryan got the Intercontinental title. Like, they want to add some luster and some prestige back to these titles, because once again, kind of like the Divas division, over the last few years, these titles haven't really meant anything. Back when I was growing up and started, even when I started watching as a young kid in the late 80s, the early 90s, the Intercontinental title meant something in WWE. It was a stepping stone. I mean, once you won that was like your way of knowing who was going to be, the next top card person in the company. It was a huge stepping stone. I mean, think of all of the greats, especially in that time era, that held the Intercontinental title. Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels. These guys were, after they finished with their Intercontinental title runs, that's when they went into, the top card. And the same thing goes for WCW. Whoever was holding on to the United States title, that was kind of like their second in line, and then you knew like who was going to be moving into the actual World Heavyweight title picture. So for them to add some actual prestige and luster is something that I like, because I personally was always a fan of those lower single titles, like the United States title and the Intercontinental title. But the John Cena versus Rusev match was kind of typical Cena match. Never give up. You thought Rusev was going to win once he got his camel clutch, the Accolade, I think it's called, into position. And then, of course, Cena with the whole never give up thing. And, he powers out of it, and then he does his little comeback thing. And then Lana gets involved, Rusev's manager. She gets knocked off the apron. Cena hits the AA, and then he wins. So, like I said, I kind of knew Cena was going to win. I think it was just a ploy to, like I said, add some prestige. Have someone hold the title that will add some, luster back into it. Some credibility back to the actual titles themselves. Let's see, what else was there? There was Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt. And let me tell you, compared to last year, Undertaker looked really good. It looked like he had been training. Last year I almost thought he looked kind of weak and gately, but like this year he looked a lot better. He looked a lot stronger. And Bray Wyatt, man, he can put on a hell of a show. And so between the two of them, they had a really, really good match. I kind of figured the Undertaker would win. So was not surprised by that. But it really was a good match. I think Bray Wyatt definitely helped the Undertaker get over, because I think that they wanted to show that the Undertaker wasn't, like, the character wasn't dead, after the beating that he got from Brock Lesnar last year. I think they wanted to push that his character is still, able to do what he's always been able to do, sort of thing. So I think they managed to do that very well. Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. Now, going into this match, I thought that this match would actually tie into the World Heavyweight title match. And what I mean by that is, I thought for sure that Seth Rollins was going to beat Randy Orton. Seth Rollins would cash in the Money in the Bank later. And then Randy Orton would come and interfere with Seth Rollins trying to cash in Money in the Bank, and then that Roman Reigns would win the title. But that didn't happen that way, obviously. So Randy Orton and Seth Rollins, Randy Orton is always, especially probably within like the last 10 years, he's been one of my favorite performers, my favorite wrestlers. I've always liked his style. I've always thought he was kind of like a badass and put on. This was a really good match too. The whole RKO out of nowhere thing never surprises me, but it's always exciting to see. Like I said, at this point you kind of know that like someone's going to jump off a top rope and Randy's going to pull out an RKO out of nowhere. And that's kind of what happened. Seth Rollins was going for a curb stomp. Randy Orton pushes him up in the air and RKOs him. So, but nonetheless, pretty good match. Let's see. Then we had the actual World Heavyweight title match itself. Now, like I said, going into it, I thought that the Seth Rollins thing would come into play for sure. But I figured that, like I said, Seth was going to beat Randy Orton. Randy Orton would come in and interfere with Seth's chance to actually cash in Money in the Bank, and that Randy Orton would screw Seth Rollins out of becoming the World Heavyweight Champion. And going into that, they made, Brock the epitome of being a beast. Reigns couldn't do anything. For the first 10 minutes, they're just total domination by the Brock Lesnar. And I've always been a Brock Lesnar fan, but I also like Roman Reigns. I think that he is going to be the future of the WWE. I mean, he has the look, he has the Samoan family heritage. I mean, it's just a given that at some point or another, when the torch is passed, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the face of the WWE. He just has the look. He just has that, like, badass, I'm strong, you can't beat me look. And when Roman Reigns actually came out, the crowd was kind of like a Cena crowd. It was like half and half. Like there was half people that were cheering him, half people were booing him. When Lesnar came out, though, Lesnar got a huge pop. My thing going into this was, I thought that to help, because we know that Roman Reigns is going to be the man at some point. What I was thinking, and they kind of knew what his reaction was going to be from the fans going into it. Especially with Brock Lesnar, just re-signing his WWE contract. I figured that they were going to start pushing Lesnar more as a babyface here, but they didn't. But the fans were cheering him as a babyface anyway. What I thought was going to happen is I thought that to go along with, how the fans have been reacting, I thought that they were going to turn Reigns heel, have Paul Heyman turn his back on Brock Lesnar, have Heyman switch over and manage Reigns, and then, because we all know that Roman Reigns isn't so great yet on the mic, and I think that's why they're kind of holding off on like pushing him into that spotlight that we all know that he's going to get. His mic skills are still lackluster. He's getting better, don't get me wrong. He's getting much better, but they're still, I don't think they're good enough to be, like, have the pressure of being the main guy in the company. But I figured with having Heyman there to be his mouthpiece, much like he is Lesnar's now, that would probably go a long way for his character, and I thought for sure that they were going to mix that up, but that would have come into play as far as Reigns winning the title, and then Rollins cashing in, and then Randy Orton interfering and that stuff, but obviously that didn't happen. The one thing that I thought was cool about the match was the fact that Reigns kept laughing off, being like a sarcastic asshole, basically. He was basically just laughing off anytime that Lesnar hit him, even though, man, Lesnar's just a total beast. I've always been a fan of Brock Lesnar. He just, oh my God, he's in really, really good shape too. He still looks like a freaking, he still looks like a badass. Looked in really good shape. You could tell he'd been training for a while, even though he's getting up to close to 40 years old. He looked really good. And they kind of surprised me, though, with how Seth Rollins cashed in Money in the Bank. I thought for sure that he would have waited until Reigns won the title, because I didn't think going in that Lesnar was going to hold the title or retain the title after the match. I didn't think so. I thought they would have had Reigns come back with some, immaculate comeback, win the title. Rollins would come down, cash in, and then curb stomp and then win. But he came in towards like the last third of the match, the last few minutes, made it a triple threat match, and then was able to win the title, which I was not expecting. I was not expecting Rollins to actually win the title, and now I'm curious moving forward. Excuse me. I'm curious moving forward to actually seeing whether this is just going to be like a filler. Meaning, is he only going to be holding the title until the next pay-per-view, or is he going to have a lengthy run as the champion while they still build up Roman Reigns and get him to the point where they're going to have Roman Reigns actually be, the next guy. It was also, speaking of that, because I just remembered they had that big promo section with The Rock and Triple H and Stephanie and Ronda Rousey. That was really cool. I've always been a fan of The Rock once again because it goes back to that Attitude Era. Having The Rock there is always entertainment. Always fun to see. But having Ronda Rousey there and kind of, beat up on Stephanie a little bit and get her into like a little arm hold was kind of fun too. So overall, I thought it was a really, really good show. Probably not one of the better WrestleManias. But it was still good. It was still a pretty decent show overall. Bunch of great matches. I would probably say my favorite match out of all of them was probably a toss-up between the World Heavyweight title match or Sting Triple H. Like I said, I really thought that the Intercontinental title ladder match would steal the show going into it, but I don't think it really did that for me. It was a good match, but I don't think it did that. It really... Actually, Sting and Triple H was probably my favorite match. It was a really good match. It was really fun to see Sting. It was really fun to see Sting. He still got it. He looked like Sting from like 10, 15 years ago. He still got it. I mean, he could probably, although we probably won't see him for a while, we probably won't see him wrestle for a while, but I mean, he could be someone that could wrestle every few months and probably be fine. But, so that's my WrestleMania review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to see more videos like this where I just talk about, random stuff in my life, please like, please comment. And I guess I'll see you guys soon.